I think we'll directly get into the session. We have a very eminent panelist. We have been listening to the entire flow for the day on how what goes into decision making for family offices, and we have actually the decision makers in front of us who actually decide on what exactly the investment objectives are and what investment avenues do they consider while getting into a decision of investments, be it on asset allocation, and other related decisions. Uh, I think the most eminent question that panelists, I'll first go to Deepak to start with. What are the most visible opportunities do you think today are there for, as a family office, and what do you think the trend has changed over last year or so? Or are there any visible new trend that you have been able to establish in the market?
Okay, I'll speak primarily for RN Capital. We are focused on education and healthcare. We've also worked closely with founders of certain funds whom we anchor. One of the areas we've looked at and we have great interest in is technology. We firmly do believe that there's a lot of good product ideas in technology that are coming out of India now, because in many ways, if you look at the IT sector, it has matured. People are not doing very exciting work within the firms. It's more about SLA management and operating optimization and metrics. So when you have a really good product idea, given the size and the fact that many of these companies are listed, it's difficult for them to take risk on new ideas. So you find a lot of the more mature, the more experienced people coming out with ideas of their own which they want to start and run with. So we're looking at a lot of possible product ideas. We casually say, the next Google is likely to come from India, and hopefully we would have funded it. But while we say that casually, there is an element of, a belief, self-belief in that. And we do believe that there are some very good ideas out there which are world-class technologies which are being built in India. And this is a very big shift from 5-7 years earlier, when you had India being looked at primarily as a services destination. Now you're really able to see India as a place where there is innovation at the product level. We also see that in the education and healthcare startups that we've looked at. Some of the ideas are truly world-class. A recently funded company of ours is doing its second round in the Valley. There's incredible amount of investment interest. The valuations are up 7 times. It's a good place to be. I've not exited yet, so I can't start clapping, but it shows that there are ideas and there is a place today in India for innovation and products and development and coming out with high-risk ventures. It's not always about business model optimization and trying to find out better distribution channels as the only way to make money. Hope that answers your question.
Okay. Samir, any addition from your end?
Yeah, I actually think a big emerging, so first of all, it's an emerging trend that you're getting structured family offices in India, right? It's an age-old phenomena in Europe and perhaps in the US and more developed markets, but that's one thing. I think the second thing, so as structure grows, people start being more discerning around asset classes. So what historically started with focus around 1 or 2 asset classes now is, do you have a large team that can perhaps understand the risks on investing across different asset classes, or do you work with external folks? And our experience in India has been, people are quite happy to work with a number of external folks, but still do due diligence internally. I think clearly we're very aligned with the ARIN concept in that in Atlas we've been around now since 91 in different forms, not called Atlas, but we represent 5 families. And we're seeing a lot more movement from perhaps very strong hedge on real estate, which moved a lot into alternatives, and now from alternatives into directs. And part of that is because there have been a lot of failure stories in the alternative space in its early years in India, and it's still a young ecosystem here with GPs. But we're seeing a lot more direct investment. So very similar to ARIN, we look at health, energy, education, technology. And in health, just to quote a recent example of why we are more bullish on direct investments and early stage direct investments. So I think 2 things is we do believe the next Googles come out of India. We fundamentally believe that. But what we're observing is we founded a India Home Healthcare, which where we were an anchor investor, and there was a specialist team that came into play. And about 9 months ago, it got the world's #1 home healthcare provider from the US taking a minority stake in a company in India, right? And all of a sudden, the home healthcare market in India has grown. Every third day, there's a story in the newspaper about some company or the other growing, raising capital, something or the other. And I think that's great for India, right? So I think this is the role that family offices can play in addition to social philanthropy and the like, which is also a growing component, although if I'm honest about it, Indians were perhaps far ahead of the game than most of their Western counterparts.
Okay. Continuing with what you said, one is there is huge amount of systematic and global risk that impact a family wealth. So how do family offices manage this risk internally?
Yeah, I think it all depends on what is the long-term view on a family, right? So I'm sure for those of you who go home, and it looks like this is a predominantly male audience, but if you ask your spouse, your parents, or your kids what they want, they'll have a time frame that sets the goal, right? So when you ask based on a time frame, what do you want next week, they're probably saying, I want more time with you, right? When you're asking for next year, the answer is the same, right? But the problem is the nuance is very different. The reality of what you have to do is very different. So I think a lot depends on what the personal families that back the family offices want. For us, we actually have one of the strangest things. We have a 150-year multi-generation plan where all 5 families participated, and not one single person sitting on the table will be alive. Their kids won't be alive unless some new, shall we say, beyond Google comes about. Yeah. It's unlikely they'll be around. So I think when you think about the risk management, it depends on the horizon, right? So with family offices, the advantage is the horizons are longer, which is also why I think some of the earlier stage, deeper bets, which are complicated industries, are better suited to a family office investment vehicle rather than, shall we say, the easier liquid equities, has been our experience. I think that's, but I think the expert is probably sitting right here, which has a different view on this.
Any comments to add on that?
See, the thing is this, that what we have been seeing is, okay, these gentlemen are absolutely right. Okay, when you look at a family office, you have senior professionals sitting there who advise you on what investments to make and what not to make. They have exposure to various opportunities available globally. But many a times we also found that the person who you've been interacting with, probably because these are all long-term investments that one is talking about. And as you said, the horizon varies from person to person. But when you talk of large families making larger investments, they are not looking at 2 or 3 year horizon. They are also looking at much longer period. The observation has been that the person who you are interacting with after some time is just not there. And that is why you would also find many of the, I think in the earlier session we heard of real estate funds. Many of the international funds who came to India in the year 2007, 6 and all of them, their chief investment officers talked of very high risk appetite, awareness of what the Indian market was, wanting to get into very high returns, committing high returns to their investors. They did deploy the money. But at the end of the day, most of the funds today are languishing and trying to understand where they went wrong, and has created a very negative image for our country because the investment managers were not aware of what risks they were really taking. So sometimes you feel, the professional manager, depending on their experience, which may vary from 5 years to 20 years, are trying to promote certain products which maybe they have been asked to promote. And that is why it would be much better, as he rightly mentioned, that most of these families have in-house capabilities which will at least be able to sieve and analyze, because these are the people who are going to be there for 30 years, 40 years with the group. So they can't take decisions which are short-sighted, and they would be answerable and would go more in the details, understand the details, and also understand what the family requirements are better. Because for any investor, to understand his personal requirement or the family's background, depending on what is the risk appetite of the person, what is the age group of the profile, what kind of other investments they already have, what kind of businesses do they run, and what is their inherent culture, I think needs to be thoroughly understood before an investment opportunity and a decision can be made.
Okay. Jimmy, you spoke about certain things being in-house and certain things with outsourced. So what are the categories of decisions which you will still look at outsourcing? Because there has been always a debate of whether it has to be in-house or an outsourced.
See, basically for most of the families here, I think in India, we don't have that size of investments, whether in India or globally, where they could maintain a very large size family office themselves, with true professionals who have got exposure and who are aware and who do analysis, where analysts are there, they understand the businesses and all that. So interaction with professionals outside the business is extremely important, because most of these families have their internal businesses where the professionals are more focused to the businesses that the group is involved in. But at the same time, fine, they are professionals who also understand what is happening in the market, but not having as good an analysis or awareness of what opportunities exist. So interacting with outside professionals who will be able to bring opportunities, who understand those opportunities, make the analysis and present to you. And I think for people like me, when I interact with 5 or 10 of these people who come and make presentations, it makes my task far better, though sometimes it does create confusion because opinions don't seem to match between the advisors too. As somebody said in the valuation could vary substantially in real estate. He was 100% justified in saying that. But so also upon what people expect on the stock market, what people expect the price of gold to move. If a few years back you would have said, will the gold price move to $2,000 an ounce? There were several people betting on it that it would. It did not touch. Since then it has come down. So it's all a perception, but the more analysis have been done by the people, so it's necessary to interact with different people to understand what are opportunities. Some people may specialize in commodities. So ultimately as a family